And it's all part of being successful. Because to me, it's interesting because the good times, the good things that happen to you, the success that you have doesn't teach you an awful lot. It's the bad things that you have to get over, the difficulties you have to face, the struggles that you have to face that seem to make you successful. And the thing about successful people is that they all have strategies for dealing with the bad times, for dealing with when things do not go well for them, when they make a mistake, when they have a failure. And by failure, I mean when you try hard at something and you do not achieve the result that you're after. And it seems to me that in all my study is that the most important thing you have to be able to do to be successful is to be able to deal well with failure. But we've got to think, what do we mean by failure? Do you think of things as failure? Okay. Now, some people think of those kind of things as failure, but of course, those are not failures, are they? They're just people doing stupid, dumb things. What failure really is, certainly in my definition, is the state or condition of not meeting a desired or intended objective. Now, that's a fancy way of saying a time when you wanted to achieve a certain thing and it didn't happen. Like for you, it might be you sit a test at school and you don't get the mark you want, you don't get the grade you want, or you hand in an assignment to a teacher and you don't get the grade back from the teacher that you want, or you have a fight with a friend and you want to be good friends with this person, but you have a big argument with them, you have a falling out with a friend, or something like this happens, something where you want something good to happen and it doesn't happen. And the key question is, how do you deal with that? Now, I did a big study a long, long time ago, and I want to tell you about this study. Now, I studied 100 students at a high school in New Zealand, where I live. And they were actually in all grades. They were ranged in ages from 13 years old to 18 years old. And I was studying what things went with their academic success. So it's all about producing good, good academic results in the classroom and for tests and exams. And I was trying to find some factors that went with the best results, the best exam results. And halfway through my study, all these students had a major external exam, a big exam to sit, every single student. And of course, some of the students passed the exam at the very top level, did brilliantly. And some of them were more in the middle group and they did reasonably well given their ability level. And some students did really badly at the bottom. Now, what I did was I took out the middle group and I just compared the ones at the very top with the ones at the very bottom and tried to find something that went with that. And I wasn't getting anywhere. I was looking at perseverance and determination and goal setting and all those things, and nothing went with it perfectly until I asked them the question about failure. So can you think, just for a minute, think of a time when you sat a test and you got back a result that you were not happy with. Or you sat an exam and you got back a result that you were not happy with. Or you played a game of sport that you really wanted to win and you didn't win. Or you had, like I said, you had a good relationship with a friend and it changed. Something bad happened, something terrible happened. Think of a time where you wanted to have a good outcome and it didn't happen. Now, the question is, what did you do with that? How did you process that? What did you do next? Because I discovered there were two key different roles that people took in terms of dealing with failure. And I discovered that what they did in dealing with failure correlated, in other words, went with their exam results almost perfectly. I discovered that 100% of the students who passed the exam at the very top level had learnt to do this thing that I came to call failing well. So every one of the top students, all by themselves, had learnt how to fail well. And all of the bottom students, all of the students who were at the very, very bottom, were doing what I call fail badly. So this particular thing, whether you fail well or fail badly, will actually determine which of those two groups you end up in. And the good thing to realize is that every person can learn how to fail well. So just by putting in place this one strategy, what I'm saying is that I can guarantee that you will then be in the very top academic group. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? So what does it mean? What does failing well mean? Well, it's like this. It's about, like I said, reactions to failure. So when you put some effort into something, to do something, and it doesn't turn out well, you don't get the result you want, what do? Well, the failing well reaction is like this. Someone who fails well will start by acknowledging their failure. They'll say, yes, I failed at that. It's true. It's a fact. It happened. They won't go into denial and say, no, it never happened. It wasn't me. They'll say, yes, I failed. It's true. And then what they'll do is they'll take responsibility for all the factors that were in their control. You see, there are always some factors outside your control that you have no control over. And you can't take responsibility for those. But the most important thing is to take responsibility for all the factors that were in your control. How much you studied, how much effort you put in, how hard you worked. Did you have the best ways of working? Did you have the best strategies? Did you have the best techniques? Did you use them well? So first, take responsibility for the factors in your control. Second, work out what you could have done better. Third, make some changes. And fourth, do it again. Do it again and again, doing something differently every time. Excellent. Yes, that's a good comment in the chat room there. So it's exactly like this. So what this means is that if, let's say you had a test at school and the result when it came back was not a result that you wanted, that you thought you could have done better. Someone who fails well in that situation will actually that night pull out the test again, look at the answers that they wrote for the test, look at the questions that they didn't get right, and they will rewrite the answers to all the questions they got wrong. Even though they're not going to hand it in again, they're not going to get more marks, they're not going to get more results, they're not going to get better. They will go through and they will actively rewrite the answers to every single question they got wrong. And then the next day they might go to the teacher and say, I know I'm not going to get any more marks for this, but are these the right answers? And they'll make sure that the teacher says, yes, those are now the right answers. You've now got it right. You've now failed well. Because that's failing well. Going back, redoing the answers and making sure that you now have got it all absolutely correct. And then you can put it behind you and move on because you've learned from that experience. That's failing well. Someone who fails badly in the same situation of having a test and getting a result back that they didn't like might do a whole lot of different things. They might blame the school or the system. They might say, it's not my fault. It's just a dumb school. It's a dumb education system. It's not my fault. Or they might say, it's someone else's fault. It's my mother's fault. It's my father's fault. It's my teacher's fault. It's my friend's fault. They might blame someone else for their result. Or they might pretend there is no failure. They might say, no, that's fine. Just ignore it. I can ignore that. Just put it behind me and pretend it didn't happen. Or they might add some drama to failure. They might say, oh, I got a C on my assignment and I can't go to school tomorrow. All my friends will laugh at me. They might add a whole lot of hysteria to it to avoid actually thinking about it. And that doesn't work either. Or they might avoid any activity that could possibly lead to failure. This is from my study. This was a group of students who would never ever choose to do anything that they didn't already feel they were 100% competent at. They'd never risk the possibility of failure. And that's not a particularly good way to achieve things either. So anyone can learn how to do this failing well thing. And I want to show you how to do this. Now, what this will require is to you right now to get a pen and a piece of paper. I can also print this out for you and send it as a document to Neil or to Chris. And actually the whole process here is also in the Lalatat, but let me just show you. You can feel free to copy this down if you want. It requires you to use a cycle that I call the failing well cycle. It's got 4 parts to it called do, look, think, and plan. And it goes like this. How do you fail well? Well, so you can copy this down just like this, and I'm going to add some words around the edge. Because what's going to happen in your life is you're going to do things. You're going to take action, right? And so I'm asking you to imagine a time where you took some action and it didn't turn out very well. You didn't get the result you wanted. What do you have to do? Well, the first thing you have to do is go to the look step. And in the look step, what you do is you describe what happened. You write down all the steps, what actually happened. Well, I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and this happened, and this happened. But just the facts, not the opinions, not who to blame, just the facts, what actually happened. And then once you've listed all the facts, then you move to the think step. And in the think step, you take responsibility for your own actions. As I said before, you take responsibility for your own actions. And a way you could do that is to ask yourself 2 questions. The questions are, in that scenario, in that situation that I've just had some failure in, what did I do that worked? And what did I do that didn't work? So this is you admitting all the things that you did that were not good things to do, the things that didn't work. So it's very simple, isn't it? You take action. If it doesn't work well, you describe what happened and list the facts, and then you take responsibility for your own actions. What did I do that worked? And what did I do that didn't work? And then you move to the plan step. So you're looking at the things that didn't work, and then you're thinking, okay, what will I do differently next time? So you're making a plan. You're thinking, okay, next time I have another test like this, what I'm going to do is boom, 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 boom. And then finally, you make a change and you do it again. So this is where you rewrite the answers and you take them back to the teacher and you say, are these correct now? And you make a plan for the next test you're going to have. You're going to do things differently. Now, this is not just a cycle for academic success. It's actually a cycle for success in everything you do in your life. If you put this idea into practice, so every time you take some action and you get a result that you don't want, that you reflect on it, you take responsibility for it, the things you can control, you make a plan to do things differently next time, and you go back and you implement that plan, then you will be successful. It's simple. This is the single most obvious strategy, I guess, of successful people. They all make sure they do this. So I hope that is useful for you. As I said, I'll print this out for you, but it is also available in Lalatat. In Lalatat, you'll find exercises to practice and learn how to fail well. In the MYP portal, they're under 4.5b. In the DP portal, they're under 4a. In both cases, they are called failing well. And there's one exercise which is learning how to fail well from past experience. It asks you to think back of a past experience and learn how to do that. And then it gives you another exercise, how to use failing well to achieve new goals. And then there's a third one on using failing well for academic success. So it goes through all the steps that I've outlined in detail. Each one of these exercises takes a little bit of time. So don't try and do all 3 at once. Just do one and reflect on that for a while. And then a week or 2 later, go back and do the second one. And then a week or 2 later, go back and do the third one. And then you will have learned how to fail well. And I think failing well is the #1 thing that students need to learn how to do, or everyone needs to learn how to do.